iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Hey there, everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. All right, let's talk about a little fantasy news and notes, and then we're going to get back to our previews with the New Orleans Saints. Always a very good team to look at in terms of fantasy goodness. Right now, Travis Frederick, the Cowboys center, has been diagnosed with some rare autoimmune disease, Guillain-Barré syndrome. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly. Look, most people don't realize this. Most people think that the left tackle is the key to the offense. It's not exactly true. The center is. This is the guy that needs to be in connection with the quarterback. And when the center is a star, usually the offensive line is too. I always go back to Dwight Stevenson. That guy was just a mega superstar, right, for the Dolphins. Travis Frederick completely solidifies the Cowboys line. Now, look, you need your left tackle and your right tackle for pass protection. I get that. But the center is the anchor. If the center is bad, your team is in big trouble. And they're very overlooked, sadly, right? They're overlooked players, but they're very important. Just ask any quarterback who's ever played the game. They'll tell you that. So what does this mean with Frederick? That means Dak Prescott I'm lowering. I'm lowering Zeke Elliott. Now, am I going to lower Zeke Elliott to 10? No. I'm going to lower him to maybe 5 from 3. Just throwing it out there. I don't know if the blocking is going to be as good. If the blocking is not as good, it's a problem. If this team is doing more 3 and outs, it's a problem. I'm not saying I don't like Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. I did not say that. I'm just saying I might take Barkley over him. I might take David Johnson over him. I might take Kamara over him. I might. Throwing it out there. Okay? There's a report that Sammy Watkins, Roto, and Pat Mahomes are starting to get in sync. Well, hey. I expected this to happen. It takes time. Rapport takes time. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in this podcast about rapport. And it is a fallacy to think that two guys meet each other and they're in sync. You know, as many of you know that I played very competitive volleyball and I played with some really good hitters and I was the setter. Guys who were new to our team, I didn't know what they liked. I didn't know where to put the ball. Guys who I'd played with for years, I knew exactly where to put the ball. You just had a better rapport. So I look at it this way. When it was a close match and I had to go to one guy, I'm going to the guy I trust. That's what quarterbacks do. The setter on a volleyball court is very similar to a quarterback in an NFL game. The quarterback dispenses the football to who the right person is. Now, the coaches call the plays, which is true. Here, you know, for the most part, I called my own plays, but I still, at the end of the day, went to the guy I trusted more. Now, the longer I played with somebody, the more I trusted them. The better they did, the more I had confidence that they'd do it in a big spot. So this only goes to show that Sammy Watkins is going to grow into the rapport that he has with Pat Mahomes. So I think that's very important to understand. Okay, Pittsburgh's going to run some more no huddle. Great. I mean, I trust Ben Roethlisberger. Let him make the calls. I love that. You know, he knows what he wants to do. I think the great offensive-minded coaches let the superior quarterbacks do what they want. I mean, if Peyton Manning was my quarterback, would I tell him what plays to run? No, I'd let him run the plays. I might give him some suggestions. This might work here. I like this here. But at the end of the day, I got to trust Peyton Manning. And I put Ben Roethlisberger in that, you know, high level. Is he Peyton Manning? No, but he's certainly pretty darn good. Okay, so now it's time for the New Orleans Saints podcast preview. Let's start it up with Drew Brees. There's nothing that needs to be said about Drew Brees that you don't already know, except one thing. The emergence of the running game in New Orleans, I believe, means Drew Brees is going to be way closer to 4,000 yards than he will be to 5,000 yards. I think the days where he was throwing for 5,200 yards are long past. He's older. I don't know if his arm strength is as good. And now that he's got Ingram and Kamara, there's no reason, if they're running the ball successfully, for him to have to throw the ball 56 times a game. So does that downgrade Brees? Well, yes, but I think it elongates his career. If you thought Drew Brees was going to be done in 2 years, he may get an extra 2 years out of it. So I'm excited if I'm a Saints fan, I'm excited. But as a fantasy guy, I think he's more like my quarterback 7 than the quarterback 2 or 3 that he used to be. All right, the running game. Firstly, we all know about Alvin Kamara. And I want to talk about something here. Last year, people didn't play Kamara because he was the third string. There was Adrian Peterson. There was Mark Ingram. There was Alvin Kamara. And you're like, how's this guy going to play? Where's he going to play? Talent always wins out in the NFL. This guy is a hugely talented individual. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do everything. He is fast. He's whatever he needs to be. In fact, I give the Saints credit for not overusing him, because if I were a coach, I'd probably give him the ball on every play. That's how good he is. So Kamara is a top 5, top 6 player, and you cannot go wrong by drafting him. You cannot go wrong by drafting Alvin Kamara. Okay? Now, Mark Ingram is interesting because he's going to be out for the first 4 weeks. Okay? He's going to be out for the first 4 weeks, and then they have a bye week, week 6. So you're looking at one game week 5, and so he could be out until week 7. That said, I still like Mark Ingram because when I play fantasy football, I play for the end of the season, right? I'm always thinking fantasy playoffs. So ideally, in a perfect world, Mark Ingram is my running back 3, not my running back 2. I think that's going to be the mistake that people make, taking him a little early. Now, if this means I don't get Mark Ingram, then I won't. But I really would like Mark Ingram as in like the 5th round. But I think he's going to go late 4th, early 5th, which probably means I won't get him. If that's the case, then I just have to hope that he doesn't kill me in the fantasy playoffs. Jonathan Williams is there now. He's the 3rd string guy. You'll see him get some opportunities, especially with Ingram out. I don't think he's special. I think he's had a lot of opportunity to prove himself, and he hasn't really done that. So, yeah, whatever, okay? All right, I'm going to go backwards now. I'm going to look at Will Lutz, great kicker. Dome Stadium, check. Good offense, check. Big leg, check. He fits all the check boxes. Boom. All right, at tight end, Ben Watson is now returning. And now why was this a very shrewd signing? This was a very shrewd signing by the Saints because Watson had played for 3 years with Drew Brees. They had created this rapport. Back in 2015, Watson caught 74 passes for over 800 yards from Drew Brees. So one of the things, remember I told you about creating rapport, by bringing Watson back, Drew Brees knows what Watson's going to do, which makes him a way more effective player. You're looking for a tight end too late in your draft? I have no problem with you picking Ben Watson. The dude's 37 years old, and I'm not saying that's young, but I still think he could grind it out, another 50 catches for 600 yards this year. I have no problem with that. Okay? Now, let's get to the wide receivers. Michael Thomas is the number 1 guy on this team. He's caught for over 2,300 yards and 14 touchdowns in his 2 years. He is phenomenal. Okay? There's nothing I don't like about Michael Thomas. He is a 2nd-round pick. Maybe late 1st if you're picking at number 12, but he's certainly an early 2nd-round pick. You have my blessing. Go ahead. Any format, go get him. The rest of the team is a little sketchy to me, which is why I might knock Brees down just a little bit. It's not that the players are bad, by the way. Ted Ginn, though, is a gadget big play player. Great in best ball formats, not so great on a weekly basis. Do I trust that he's going to catch more than 2 or 3 a game? No. I'll give him 50 catches for the year. I really like Cameron Meredith. I love Cameron Meredith, but he has no rapport with Drew Brees, right? He played for the Bears. He's had knee issues. He's coming back. Drew Brees is first learning about Cameron Meredith, and Cameron Meredith has not been healthy in training camp. So I like Cameron Meredith more than Ted Ginn, but I think it may take him 8 or 9 practice weeks to get past Ted Ginn. So I would think if I were drafting, I would draft Ted Ginn with my eyes on winning the first 6 weeks and Cameron Meredith my eyes on winning the last 8 to 9 weeks. But I'm not sure either guy is a great play this year because I think there's more trust in Thomas, Watson, and Kamara. That's a problem. So I think Ginn is going to be there for a big play. I just don't know more than that. Meredith, like I said, I just don't trust it. Finally, there's a guy named Traquan Smith. Traquan Smith is a young kid out of UCF. Look, in UCF, so here's my problem. I think it's a good program, and I know the school pretty well. I live down here in South Florida, but they don't play the greatest competition, and I think a guy like Smith looks a whole lot better at UCF, like Brashard Perriman, than he will in the NFL. Certain teams translate better when they get to the NFL. You played LSU, you get to the NFL, you're pretty good, right? Normally, these guys are like, whoa, and you wouldn't even put LSU as a top 5 program, right? There are better programs than LSU. UCF, the competition's not that good. These guys play like Tulane and Tulsa, then they look really good, then they get to the NFL, and they're not that great. So that's my problem with Traquan Smith, but if I'm in a dynasty league, I do like him, as he has shown some potential, so I'm not against him. I just don't trust him yet. I like him more next year than this year. All right, I need to tell you a quick story. A follower of mine who has been following me for years says to me, "Where's your rankings?" I'm thinking to myself, this guy doesn't know where my rankings are. I send him a tweet, a DM back, and I go scoutfantasysports.com. He goes on, he goes, "I'm checking, I don't see you here. I see CBS." And I write back to him, I go, "You're on the wrong site. You're on scoutfantasy.com. We're scoutfantasysports.com. If you're listening to this podcast, and I hope you are, if you're going to scoutfantasy.com, you're being duped. CBS is duping you into thinking that's Dr. Roto and Adam Ronis and Sean Childs. It's not. We're at scoutfantasysports.com. And if you listen to what I'm doing here, I will give you a free month. If you enter Roto1, you will get a free month right now to subscribe to scoutfantasysports.com. Doesn't get better than that. You're getting all our intel for free for the first month. What more could you want? Scoutfantasysports.com. It's as simple as that. And if you want to play DFS, it's scoutdfs.com. Scoutdfs.com. I love our optimizer. Sean Childs is always coming up with outside-the-box ways for you to win big money. I use that optimizer absolutely all week long. I think it's a great tool. I read the articles. I do a podcast. I write one of the articles. You'll get our information. I promise you that. All right, but it's time now to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. Back with so much more. This is Dr. Roto saying be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!